Are you a first-time home buyer living in California and looking for some help with regards to down payment assistance, somebody to help you with the down payment? Well, over the last couple of weeks, we've been introduced to a program in the state of California through CalHFA that gives you up to 10% of the down payment for free. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what the requirements are for this loan program. We're going to walk you through some examples of it. And then we're also going to talk about why it might not be quite as good as it looks as a headline. So the headline reads, 10% down program free for any first-time home buyers in the state of California. Well, we're going to take a minute here and talk about what that actually means, what the requirements are, and what you can expect as a home buyer in the state of California if you're looking to take advantage of this CalHFA program. The first thing I want to talk about in today's video is it's only for first-time home buyers. Now, often people reach out and go, okay, I'm a first-time home buyer or I owned a home years ago, do I qualify? Well, the definition for this program is you couldn't have owned a home in the last 3 years. So if you have owned a home prior to 3 years ago or you've never owned a home before, then you qualify for this program. Assuming you meet these other guidelines, it has to be a primary home. It cannot be a second home, cannot be an investment property, but it has to be a single family home. Only one residence. You can't have a duplex or a triplex. And then if it's a condo, it actually has to be an approved condo. In addition, manufacturing housing is permitted in some cases. Also, another requirement is that it has to be paired with a CalHFA first loan. So it can't be an FHA loan, it can't be a VA loan, it has to be a CalHFA first loan, which means you need a minimum credit score of 640. And the most important piece here is that your debt to income ratio cannot exceed 45%. And that's going to be the catch for many people out there watching this video is that, they're giving you 10% down. It seems like a really good idea. But then once you read the qualifications or the caps that they have with regards to income, there's a lot of people out there. In fact, the majority of people out there aren't going to be able to take advantage of this program. And that's what we're going to dive into right now, where we go over some examples of how this program actually works depending on where you're located in California. Now, one thing I didn't mention in the beginning of this video is the 10% that they're giving you for the down payment is actually a forgivable loan if you occupy the home for at least 5 years. Now, if you sell the property less than 5 years, you're likely going to have to repay some of the portion of the monthly payments that you would have had on that loan. But if you keep that property for 5+ years, then that loan is forgiven. The second goes away. Now, you might be wondering, how does this loan work to begin with? Well, a forgivable second loan, in this case, goes after your first mortgage. So in this case, they would be providing the 10% down. So if you were buying a $300,000 home, for example, the loan amount would be $270,000 on your first, and then you would have a $30,000 second lien, which is that free down payment assistance that's silent. There's no payments due on it. In fact, nothing happens with that loan, assuming you live in the property longer than 5 years. Now, if you do sell it, they're going to come back and ask you for a portion of the payments that would have been due during that period. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information on how that works at the moment, but just understand if you own the property for at least 5 years, that down payment assistance, that 10%, is forgiven. In theory, it's going to be free. Before we dive into that information though, I want to take a minute and introduce myself. My name is Jeb Smith. My channel is all about real estate, helping guide you through that process. So do me a favor, if you find any value in today's video at all, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to stay updated on everything real estate related with regards to California and the United States, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. So one of the most important pieces of qualifying for this loan is income requirement. Now, the guidelines for this program read that you can't make more than 80% of the median income. And for many people out there, they don't know what the median income is. So I'm actually going to put a link in the description below where you can click on it and you can go anywhere in the United States, and especially here in the state of California, if you're planning on using this program, click on your county and it's going to bring up the median income. Now, this changes on an annual basis, but as of today, the area and median income of where I'm located here in Southern California is $86,100. And the program only allows you to use 80% of that median income. So you can't make more than $68,880 in order to qualify for this program. Now, if you're located here in Southern California where I'm located, you're probably thinking the same thing I am. Who can buy a house when they only make $68,880? And that's the biggest caveat with this program, is that they're willing to give you 10% for the down payment with no limit on that down payment, but they're limiting how much income you can make. And then in addition to that, they're limiting your debt to income ratio to only 45%. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over a couple of examples for here in Orange County and LA County, where I'm located. We're going to talk about counties like San Diego, even Central California, and talk about some examples there so you can see how these numbers may or probably don't work for you with regards to using it for the free down payment. But that's going to take me into a couple of examples that I want to cover in today's video, just to see where you would be with regards to qualifying. So here in Orange County, I mentioned, 80% of the area median income was $68,880. So let's assume that you make $6,888 or less, and you can actually qualify for the 10% down payment. Well, what does that look like? Well, that equates to a $5,740 monthly payment, because we took your $68,800, we divided it by 12 in this case, and that gave us $5,740 per month. Now the lender is saying you can only use 45% of that income towards your monthly debts. Now that includes any debts you have, like a car payment, student loans, credit card payments, as well as the mortgage, taxes, and insurance. So if you had zero monthly debt per month, no other monthly debt, you could only use $2,583 per month on that mortgage, which sounds like a fairly decent amount. But let's use an example here. So let's say that you buy a $450,000 townhome, condo, because in Orange County where I'm located, it's going to be very, very difficult to find a single family home at $450,000. But let's say you do, you meet the qualification guidelines that we mentioned earlier, they give you the 10%, so you're essentially financing $405,000. Now let's just use an interest rate today of somewhere around 5%. Interest rates are varying every day. In fact, rates at the moment are somewhere in the mid 5% for most qualified buyers out there. But we're going to use 5% for this example, which is going to give you a monthly payment of $2,174 per month. So that's your mortgage payment. Now we have to figure out what the taxes would be on that property. And so what we're going to do is take that $450,000, we're going to multiply it by 1.1%. There's a chance the taxes might be a little bit higher than that, but for this video, we're going to use 1.1%, which means your taxes are going to be roughly $412 per month. So between your mortgage and your taxes, you're sitting at $2,586. Now, if you remember earlier in the video, we mentioned 45% of your $5,740 was $2,583 per month. So at the moment on a $450,000 property, we're already capped. And we haven't factored in any homeowners association. We haven't factored in any mortgage insurance that's going to be required on that loan because you're putting less than 20% down, which at the moment you don't qualify for this $450,000 home because we haven't even factored in the other things that we need to factor in, like that mortgage insurance, like the HOA, like your hazard insurance to cover fire and that sort of thing on your property. And we're already at the threshold. So in this case, you would have to buy something less than $450,000. And there are properties out there that meet it. They're just not very common. And in the market that we're in right now, there's a lot of buyers at the lower end price points because they're more affordable. So you as a home buyer are going to be coming in looking to use this forgivable loan, and you're likely going to be competing against buyers that aren't using this forgivable loan. And that doesn't mean it can't get done. I'm just telling you what you're up against in this environment. And so to me, that is the biggest problem with this program, is that they're using 80% of the median income. For one, I don't understand why they're using 80%. Why can't they just use 100%? Because let's be honest, even at 100%, it would be tough to qualify for some of these programs. But if you go to areas like San Diego, in this case, San Diego has a higher median income, $95,100, but 80% of that is $76,080, which equates to $6,340 per month. And if you take 45% of that, that's $2,853 per month. So in the case that we used a moment ago with the $450,000 condo, you're still going to be very close with being able to qualify because we were already at nearly $2,600 and we hadn't factored in any HOA. So even in San Diego, it's going to be tough. But let's talk about areas like Riverside, San Bernardino, for example. Well, the area median income there is $77,500. 80% of that, $62,000. Broken down on a monthly basis, and that's $5,166. 45% of that, $2,325 per month. So a very, very low amount to be able to qualify for a lot of the properties that you're seeing in those markets. And let's be honest, some of these areas are known for higher price points, and this would have never worked out to begin with. But let's go to a market that has more reasonable housing, more affordable housing, if you will, and that's Bakersfield. Had a lot of clients move out towards that way over the course of the last couple of years because it's less expensive, it's a little bit more affordable. The problem there is that the area median income is $59,700. So once you take 80% of that, that's $47,760 for the entire year. Well, you got to divide that by 12, so that's $3,980. And again, you can only use 45% of that towards your debt to income, which is $1,791. Now, I want to stress, this is assuming you have no monthly debt. You have no car payments, you have no credit cards, you have no student loans, you have no other debt that they'll use $1,791. If you have a car payment or a credit card or a student loan, it's going to be significantly less than this, which means the program as a whole doesn't really make a lot of sense. But in this case, $1,791. So can you even buy a property using this program? Let's take an example of $300,000. So $300,000 property, let's say they gave you the 10% down, you're financing $270,000 at, say, a 5% interest rate. That's going to give you a payment of $1,449. Now again, we need to add taxes, we need to add mortgage insurance, we need to add hazard insurance, homeowner's insurance, if you will, on top of that. But let's take the taxes. So taxes, roughly 1.1% here in the state of California, that's $275 per month. Well, we got to add that back to the mortgage of $1,449. That gives us $1,724. Now, a minute ago, you heard my example in Bakersfield. The max you'd be able to use is $1,791 because that's 45% of the 80% of the area median income. So in this case, at $300,000, we haven't factored in the mortgage insurance, we haven't factored in the homeowner's insurance, and we're already pretty much at that threshold, which says a $300,000 property probably isn't going to be doable either. You're going to have to probably go down to something like $250,000 or less. So if you're looking at homes in your market and you're not seeing homes close to that price, then this is probably a program that is not really usable. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a lot of these programs like this look really good as a headline, but then when you start reading into the details, the requirements, what you have to do in order to be able to use this loan, you realize it's kind of a waste. It's not really much to it. Now, assuming you can qualify for one of these programs and you meet these guidelines, there's also some additional things that you have to do. You have to take an educational course with CalHFA in order to qualify. And the most important piece here I really, really want to stress is if you're considering using one of these programs, you need to work with somebody that understands CalHFA, that understands the program, that understands this forgiveness program. And I'll be completely transparent. I'm not your guy for that. Just here in Orange County where I'm located, we don't have a lot of these types of programs Therefore, it's hard for me to be able to guide you through that process. But it is very important, if you're considering using them, that you work with somebody that understands them, because they got to be able to guide you for one, but they also have to be able to convey to any agent on the other side of the transaction, assuming they're making offers, how the program works, that it's not a bad program, and really be able to, guide you through that, if you will, and really be able to guide them as well as you through that process. So just understand what you're getting into when you're thinking about these programs, understand the ins and the outs of them. But if you're watching this and realizing, this program isn't for you because of those income restrictions, do me a favor, check out this video here on FHA loans. No income restrictions allow you to go with super low credit scores and only require a minimal down payment. So check that out. But for now, I appreciate you watching. Appreciate your time. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.